Okay, we're going to continue talking about plant responses, and in some cases, these responses are from hormones. Other cases, it may be from light or touch. So, the way plants respond to environmental stimuli, there are nastic movements, which are responses to a stimulus that's independent of the direction of stimulus, and then morphogenic responses. That's the change in the status of a plant and its readiness to flower. Tropisms are when you have plant growth toward or away a stimulus such as light or gravity. It comes from the Greek for tropos, meaning turn or turning, and auxins are usually involved in this process. So responses to light include pigments that are other than those used in photosynthesis and can detect the light and mediate the plant's response to it. Photoperiodism responds to changes in length of day and night. It's non-directional. And phototropisms are directional growth responses to light. And we'll talk about each one of these. So etiolation is an adaptation to growing in the darkness. So if you have a potato that's left in the dark, it produces shoots that are unhealthy and lack elongated roots. After you expose it to light, it will undergo changes that are called de-etiolization, and that the shoots will actually grow. Shoots and roots will grow normally. So on the left here, you've got etiolation of a potato. It looks pretty unhealthy. And then once you expose it to light, you can see the roots and the shoots are growing very nicely, and that's de-etiolization. Phototropism is the curvature of a plant organ in response to light. So phototropic responses include bending of growing stems to the sources of light with blue wavelengths. So you won't have that if you don't have a blue wavelength within your light spectrum. Geotropism or gravitropism are the same thing. You may see it written in both ways. This is a response of a plant to the gravitational field of the earth. So shoots exhibit negative geotropism, while roots have a positive geotrophic response. And this is what that looks like. So you see your shoots on the side laying plant are wanting to go up, so they're negatively geotropic. And on the left, our roots are trying to grow down, and they're positively geotropic. Okay, so thigmotropism is a stimulus is touch, and it's a directional response to the touch stimulus or pressure. Thigmotropism is usually found in twining plants and tendrils. So the pressure at the point of contact of an object produces auxin, or increase auxin production in the cells opposite the point of contact. As those respond by greater elongation, it causes the tendril or vine to curl around the object. I have posted a really excellent video on this. I would totally recommend that you take a look at it. Okay, nastic movements are plant movements that occur in response to environmental stimuli, but the direction of the response is not dependent on the direction of the stimulus. So when you have light, phototropism, the plant is growing towards that blue light. This is not going to happen with nastic movements. So two plants that are very much a part of this would be the Venus flytrap on the right, the sensitive plant on the left. I also posted videos on these, and that's called seismonasty or thigmonasty. You'll see either one listed. Do take a look at that video. Nyctinasty are sleeping movements. So that's induced by the alternation of day and night. The leaves of some plants will grow horizontally during the day, such as oxalis, and then they'll begin to droop and close towards the evening, and they don't rise again until the next morning. I also have a video of this. Epinasty is the twisting, bending, or elongation of stems and leaf petioles. It's associated with ethylene, and this can be a real problem in greenhouses. You definitely want your plants looking healthy when you're trying to sell them. If you look on the right here, the far right, you'll see a picture of something that's been affected by this epinasty. That's going to be a difficult plant to sell. Thigmomorphogenesis is the changes resulting from contact rubbing. And what happens is it's internode compression and lateral enlargement or swelling of stems. In the wild, it happens with wind, raindrops, and rubbing of passing animals. Here's what that looks like with the wind. I've posted a video of from Cornell of trying to shorten tomato plants, make them more stocky with thigmomorphogenesis. I definitely recommend checking that out. Photoperiodism regulates flowering, seed germination in some species. So short day plants would be chrysanthemums, poinsettias, Christmas cactus. Long day plants would be asters, coneflowers, poppies, spinach, and many plants are day neutral. It doesn't really matter how much light they get, they will still bloom. So there's a pigment that's found in some cells that have proven to control plant development, and that's called phytochrome. This pigment has two forms, P-red sensitive and P-far red sensitive forms. And each plant response is very specific to each species. Some plants don't respond at all. So long day plants flower when there is a prolonged larger pool of PFR. Short day plants flower when there's a prolonged larger pool of PR. So short day plants are on the left here. You can see when you've got the short day in the middle, you actually have flower. The yellow is the day. When you have too much daylight, it's not going to flower. Or if you have interrupted light, that will cause the flowering to be a problem. So you can see on the top it's short, but then some point during the night, there's some light introduced that will affect the flowering on short day plants. Long day plants need to have uninterrupted time of light, and this is usually cut off at halfway, right? It's a little over 12 hours of light for long day plants and a little over 12 hours of darkness for short day plants. And you can see what happens when you don't have the right amount of darkness or interrupted darkness. Okay, so on the left here we've got long day plants and short day plants. We've got short periods of darkness for early summer induced flowering of the long day plants such as iris, but not in short day plants such as goldenrod. In the late fall, there's longer periods of darkness, and that induces the flowering of short days such as goldenrod, but not in long day plants such as iris. And then with interrupted night, the long night of the winter is artificially interrupted by some sort of light, so the goldenrod would not bloom and the iris would. Okay, so fall color and photoperiods. There's many things that go into fall color, but one of the things is photoperiods. So with longer nights, senescence starts the change of the color of leaves, and that leads to abscission. We'll talk about what abscission is in a moment. Water and nutrients are drawn into the stems away from the leaves, and eventually back to the plant in preparation for winter. So abscission is the natural detachment of parts of a plant. Ethylene regulates abscission. Auxin suppresses the ethylene effect. Auxins usually inhibit leaf abscission by acting on the cells in the abscission zone. Leaf senescence causes the auxin production at the tip of the leaf to drop. So the lack of auxins in the abscission zone makes the cells there susceptible to ethylene. So a drop in auxin levels cause a direct increase in ethylene production, leading to shedding of leaves. So this is what we're talking about. Here's our abscission zone. It's right at the base of the petiole. Okay, annual, biennial, and perennial. Annuals, their entire life cycle concludes in one season. It's not 1 year, it's one season. Biennial is 2 seasons for a life cycle completion, and then a perennial lives more than 2 years. And flowers and fruits every year would be called polycarpic. Flowers and fruits once, then dies as monocarpic, and an example of that is bamboos. So if you look at this biennial growth cycle, you've got your seed, vegetative growth. The first year it goes into dormancy, then in the second year there's some more vegetative growth, then you have flowering, then you have death, and then you have the seed. So it says biennial. Sometimes this is a 3-year period rather than a 2-year period, but anyway, that's what it's called. So vernalization is a period of cold temperatures required for a plant to go into dormancy. Photoperiods are the ratio of day to night in a 24-hour period. And bolting is the induction of the reproductive state. And this is a picture of lettuce that is bolted. And many of you know, if you've grown lettuce, that this is not when you want to eat it. It's very bitter at this stage of the game. So vernalization is a cold treatment required to trigger or initiate flower formation in biennials. So again, this is the same thing. First year it grows vegetatively as rosettes or bulbs in late summer or fall. In winter, it's vernalized by cold of winter to trigger the flower inception. And then the second year, spring flower forms and develops, and that's called bolting. And here's some classic biennials here. We've got Sweet William on the bottom. We have foxglove on the top. And over here we've got parsley. So the parsley you see here is in its first year. So the next year it's going to flower. That's if it's warm enough for it to stay alive during the winter. But anyway, if you've grown foxglove, you know that the first year you're only going to end up with the rosette.